What's up guys, welcome back. Today trying to show you how to make a terrarium for free. Today we'll be making a bioactive terrarium too in this container without spending any money. So the container soil drainage layer and plants are going to cost absolutely nothing. These terrariums gonna be a little bit different than what you guys have seen on the channel thus far. That's largely because of the way that the container is shaped. And we are going outdoors to build the terrarium today. Actually, towards the riverside. Typically, I would landscape with twigs and sticks and different elements like that. But I really want to pack this tightly with plants and have them be the showcase rather than landscaping. Now, of course, I'm still gonna landscape, it's just not gonna be as drastic as I typically would. I set myself the challenge of making a terrarium without spending any money, and I'm so pleased with how it turned out. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoy this demonstration with our journey. And as always, thank you for watching. Before you start, you will want to collect some items. Here are all the items that you will need to make the terrarium: a glass jar or vase. You can use a lid or keep it uncovered. Any size. Rocks of different sizes and small mesh. Activated carbon, lump wood charcoal. Soil from the ground or potting soil. Moss or other small, slow-growing plants. Optional. Sphagnum moss and decorating pieces such as plastic animals and decomposed wood chips. At this time, we are making from the things we find in this environment. There will be a native terrarium unique to this environment. It has its own unique qualities. It has an environment similar to this environment. Let's go through the list and take a little trip to the riverbank. How does a closed terrarium ecosystem work? One that's able to effectively support itself with minimal effort or intervention by recreating many of the world's natural cycles. That includes its very own rain cycle, and in the case of a bioactive terrarium, a nutrient cycle too. Here's an in-depth look at how terrariums work. So naturally, when considering how to make a terrarium, we need to keep these principles in mind. The idea is to build a system that can look after itself so we don't have to. Of course, being a closed terrarium means you need to be able to seal it. Does that mean a closed terrarium needs to be airtight? Not really. As long as it's able to trap moisture and humidity, it'll still function. Besides, it's often good to air out a closed terrarium now and again to get in some fresh carbon dioxide and get out some mold spores. As for the sealed container in question, suitable terrarium containers come in all shapes and sizes. From apothecary jars to spice jars, whiskey bottles to candles, almost any glass jar container will do. The bottom rock layer will allow the water to stay at the bottom of the container and between the rocks, making sure the soil doesn't stay moist all the time and become putrid. Put some larger rocks in first and then fill out some of the cracks with some of the smaller rocks you collected. Plastic mesh with holes poked in it. Cut a piece of plastic wrap the size of your container. This layer prevents the soil from getting to the bottom rock layer. If you want to skip this step, which is okay, but you will have soil seeping through the rocks which could eventually become a problem. Terrarium substrates are the well-balanced diet that forms the foundation of your system. There to support form and function, and to provide nutrients and hydration, they're an unavoidably dirty, but essential part to the whole terrarium process. Ultimately, what you choose to plant in will determine how your plants are able to grow and nourish themselves. And every plant has different needs. Don't get it wrong and you're at risk of stunted plant growth, rot, bug infestations, and more. So, it's always worth taking the time to consider the best substrate mix. I usually use native river substrate. The substrate contains microbes, insect eggs, and lots of other organisms. These could be beneficial or harmful to your terrarium. They eat decaying matter and will help keep your terrarium clean. Good old Raleigh-Pollies. However, you could end up having insects that eat the leaves off of your plants. Soil. You have two options for the soil. Big decisions. You can use native soil from where you collected your plants or potting soil. The benefit of naive soil is that you are using the soil that the plants are accustomed to and thrive in. They will likely do well in this soil and won't die. However, you take a small risk using this soil with the microbes and other microfauna that could now be living in your small jar. I like seeing how much life is in a little bit of soil, so I usually use native river soil. As an alternative, you can use potting soil. This won't have any insects, probably, but since it is not the native home to your plants, they might not do as well. Finally, onto the fun part. This is where you get to be creative. I like starting with a base of landscape. I add the 3 plants. Tweezers or a long stick could be helpful when adding these plants and reaching into the jar. Your very own, self-watering, miniature jungle, full of lush green tropical plants. An ecosystem that, while beautiful, is also quite the balancing act. Getting the right plants, materials, and container is the first step to a functionally closed system, but they also have their nuanced care too. Once the ecosystem is in place, it's time to create your final scene and add any last highlights. Natural or otherwise. Water your terrarium. Get the soil super moist, and the water should collect at the bottom in your rock layer. Keep your terrarium in indirect sunlight. The glass will amplify the sun's rays, so do not put it in direct sun. Moths like to grow in the shade. Clean the glass on the inside and outside every once in a while to make sure sunlight can reach the plants. The inside might get cloudy with moss spores. If you put a lid on your terrarium, it will be a self-contained ecosystem. The water cycle will occur in your container and you basically won't have to ever water it. So cool. Open the top every so often to freshen it up and smell it. If it smells earthy and forestry, it's healthy. If it smells bad, the soil is probably rotting and you should redo the terrarium with new soil. Finally, add water and a lid. Not really a layer but essential nonetheless. I close the opening completely here. Then this is a closed terrarium. A successful ecosystem in a jar. Now we have collected the elements from this environment and made our native bioactive terrarium. Look nice! I wanted to create a better bioactive terrarium than a decoration. It takes time for us to get results here. It creates a good bioactive environment in this over time. That's what we hope for with this kind of terrarium. Try it yourself. It's your backyard. I will update the information here in the next video. Subscribe to our channel for getting to more videos like this. Thank you.